Hi there, Vanguard fans. This is extremewirehead going to talk about another clan in my series of Vanguard clan intros. And in this one, we're going to go over Angel Feather. Angel Feather is an interesting clan because at the time that it was released, the game was being lauded as maybe a bit too simple, maybe had very little control, and what Angel Feather basically added was the ability to play around with some ideas. In previously, you had clans that were all about the superior call. You had clans all about the superior retire, and then you moved on to ideas such as drop zone. But then Angel Feather was the first to put the idea that maybe even the damage area can be your friend. It is a very technical deck because of the number of plays you can make. And for many reasons, partly because of all the angels around, it really does help that angels come in, play around with the damage zone, control the damage zone, and make really fun plays because of it. In that sense, they are very, very powerful because damage zone almost acts like an extension of your hand. Let's get down to the cards because that one sentence really does encapsulate what Angel Feather is. The damage zone is your friend and you will be using your damage zone very, very much. The first card I want to look at, starting with the G4. Oh, and by the way, all of the cards I'm looking at in this clan intro and all of the clan intros are not going to be meta cards. These are going to be cards that show off what the clan is capable of rather than what they are good at. What they are good at currently, because the meta will change, cards get rolled over. That's not important to me. What's important to me is you understand what makes the clan great as it is and how they make themselves different from all the other clans. For the first card I'm looking at, the G4s, Holy Seraph Zack. I really don't know. This is going to be an entire video of me not understanding how to say any of these cards. Her skill is an axe skill, counterblast 1, choose a face down, face it up. Until end of turn, this unit gets, if you have a face up card in your damage zone, all your rear guards get 3k. If you have 5 cards in your damage zone, this unit gets 10k as well. Now, this is an important card for Angel Feather. A number of different cards that you're going to see in this entire clan will involve plays that just create power out of nowhere. Just because cards moved around, just because you played your tricks around, suddenly you've got power. And this is especially evident in Angel Feather because they have these other units that just do just that. It's just all about the power plays. And it's going to depend on what exactly is in your in this damage zone. Specific cards might be involved, but otherwise it's just all about the damage zone. You're gonna have to watch for what you remove during heals, what you move around with special skills, and in general it really does show off that over time the number of different cards in your damage zone really does help even just by existing. To the next card that we're looking at, we're actually looking at Raphael, which is, to my mind, a rather interesting card. The card's name is Holy Seraph Raphael, and this really put them on the map currently, and I still think it's quite relevant to this day. Axe skill GB2 once per turn. Flip up a persona copy on your G-Zone. Choose a card from your damage, just heal it. Outside of never having to require the heal trigger skill and being able to just straight up heal for almost no cost, essentially. It is very powerful because you get a heal, you get an extra damage, you can take one more hit, you can take one more crit. And it's just incredibly useful for that reason. I don't see any reason not to run a full set of these at the moment just because of how powerful it is. It does show off the crazier side of Angel Feather because their whole gimmick, their whole shtick is play around with the damage zone. They can have weird skills like these. And these weird skills do get a little bit crazy in some cases because of the number of plays that they can make. Those are the only G4s I'm going to look at. You can take a look at all the technical, jumpy, crazy moves that they can make on their own. But we're going to go down to the G3 where I think we have one of the cards that really gives it a very different feel. Black Shiver Gavriel. When you stride CB1, look at the top 3 cards, choose one among them, put it in your damage zone, rest in the bottom of your deck in any order, choose a face-up card from your damage zone, call it to R, and that unit gets 2k until end of turn. Important to note, when Angel Feather does its tricks and additional cards go into the damage zone, it is okay if you go over 6, so long as at the resolution of the effect, you are under 6, meaning that you are not dead. Being able to call from the top 3 is almost exactly the same as some of the other clans' stride skills, but being able to jump it into the damage zone is a particularly interesting one because now not only are you technically looking at 3 possible things to superior call, you are looking at a grand total of basically 8. This is quite interesting because of the implications of such a play. Not only do you get a power boost, you also get to choose from a large selection of cards and add them to your field. One of those funny things about the damage zone is it actually removes some of the choices and does increase your knowledge of what's inside your deck. In Angel Feather, that is less of an issue because you can actually play around with that idea and say that, oh, it showed up in my damage zone. It is part of my hand and can be used with the push of a single skill if I really need that card. Her other skill is just a power boost, not as important as the rest of the clan's skills, but important to note anyway. She's going to hit for higher powers along with her friends. Fourth in this list is Million Ray Pegasus, and Million Ray Pegasus is one of those really old cards. Again, shows off one of the strengths of Angel Feather. When a card is put into your damage zone, if you have an Angel Feather Vanguard, this unit gets 2k until end of turn, whether Vanguard or Rearguard. There are more advanced versions out now. There's even a G1 version of this exact same Pegasus. But what's important to note is it even works during a regular damage check. And this means that power boosts are quite normal and can really screw up the game. Understand that early game, it is very important that for some decks to push with rush of some sort, and this card just straight up blocks it because suddenly you keep getting 2k every time you take a damage. If you get a crit, you get 4k and stop a lot of very small attacks. In general, it is still a decent choice, probably not the best, but if you were looking to make a budget deck and try out the clan, this is one of those cards that really gets you into the mindset that, yes, the damage zone is my friend. When things happen to my damage zone, including when the opponent hits me, I will have some benefit from that. And it'll be a very interesting clan because taking damage is actually increasing your card advantage because you will increase the number of choices in your damage zone. We're only going to look at another G2. And this G2 is another unicorn because I think this unicorn deserves a mention just because of how strange the skill is. When it's placed on your rear guard, you may pay the cost of CB1. Choose a face-up card in your damage zone and heal it. When this unit leaves play, look at the top 2 cards of your deck. Choose a card from among them and put them in your damage zone, the rest in the bottom of the deck. In other words, by its very existence... Oh, and by the way, it's got resist. Dreamlight Unicorn is a strange card because it just heals for almost nothing. And on top of healing for almost nothing, when it leaves play, you will take that damage back. Could instantly kill you, of course, but it does mean that you can suddenly heal yourself and be straight out of range of a lot of things. Having resist means very few effects can actually touch it. It may be easily countered by a couple of strategies in some of the other clans, and the fact that you can't stop the second skill even if you didn't use the first skill means that it is a very difficult play in some cases. It's still an interesting card because it does show off some of the crazier ideas that can mess up the tempo of a lot of decks and how they operate. Angel Feather has a lot of tricks. They've got a lot of plays to make, and a lot of these involve cards that move stuff around. Most of the things I've been looking at have involved just power plays, but this next card in the G1 lineup really is the starting point of why people love this clan for its technical prowess and complications. Battle Cupid in the Ciel. When this is placed on the guard circle, if you have an Angel Feather Vanguard, you may pay the cost. If you do, which is put a card from your hand and put it into your damage zone, pick a card from your damage zone, put it into your hand. Being able to shuffle around the cards from your damage zone into your hand, play around with which cards go in, which cards go out, not changing your card advantage by removing one for a take one, means that you don't make her completely broken, but does make her a very situational play. You drop her down, pick a card from your damage zone, and then you can play that card onto the guard to increase the guard potential. Because of the number of tricks that you can make, you can even set up for the next turn, you can prepare your hand for what's happening, and this information is in the middle of the opponent's battle phase. You could actually make a lot of decisions, and it all around is a very technical card. Noshel has since then become a very important card because it did show up as a G2 and a G3 and a G4, expounding on this idea of the battle Noshels. And it's very interesting, but I'll leave you to discuss those kinds of things on your own and find out how interesting it can get. Noshel is a great starting point for many of the Angel Feather decks, and it still is such a decent thing that up to this day, those cards are actually worth quite a bit of money. Following this, we're going to look at a simple card, one that I believe experts of this game probably thought I wasn't going to be looking at, but it does show off that sometimes interesting stuff happens with Angel Feather that just make you go, what? Axe skill only happens in the damage zone. Turn this card and face it down. Choose a Angel Feather Vanguard, and this unit gets 3k until end of turn. What's important about this card isn't that it gives power. We already knew that Angel Feather did power. It's also not important that it does things in having being placed in the damage zone. That is very normal. What is very important is it does not require things of the Vanguard. It does not require things of the rear guard. It will do so on its own. When you fight an Angel Feather deck, when you go up against one, you're going to have to play around the idea that just because you didn't do anything to their damage zone doesn't mean that they can't do anything. And because it's so difficult to touch the opponent's damage zone other than taking damage, it is very difficult to stop a lot of the plays of Angel Feather. And that is probably the reason they are rated so highly by other players. It is an incredibly technical clan for that reason, and this card shows off that just because a card is in the damage zone doesn't mean it can't do its effects on its own. And that is a very, very, very powerful thing, because that means that cards that like to play can be put into the damage zone, and because they are in the damage zone, fun stuff happens. You will have cards that suddenly shoot themselves out from the damage zone and onto the field. Other cards which, when other cards play effects, they will also play their effects because cards moved, some stuff happens. All around, they are a very, very technical clan because of this reason. And it's very hard to stop because just because it's in the damage zone, stuff will happen. And you cannot avoid having them take damage because you're going to need to push them to 6 to win the game in almost every case. The last card is one that has been in the game since almost the very start, and it is a card that technically on paper and in a vacuum is terrible. Hope Child Turiel. It's a Forerunner before Forerunners were a thing. If you have an Angel Feather Vanguard, this unit gets the Axe skill CB1, put into your soul, choose a card from your hand and put it into your damage zone. Choose a card from your damage zone, put it into your hand. Essentially, you just -1, place it into your soul for the effect of getting something and cycling it from your damage zone. In every case, it is actually a rather slow card, and it is more or less a -1 to your field. But because of the number of plays and the number of tricks, it is what you would call an activator. By allowing you to move stuff in and out. Some cards will activate. Some cards only activate when this happens once, sometimes twice. Sometimes for a power boost every time it happens. In general, it activates a lot of different skills and makes for plays happening very, very consistently. It's for that reason that even today you will see people run Hope Child Turiel, because in some cases it just is far more consistent, and I can understand why. The number of tricks that this card pulls off really does show that they are a combo clan at heart, and a combo clan that is very hard to get around their effects and get around how they operate. In many ways, Angel Feather is a clan that teaches you very complicated things. It teaches you that just because you lose a card to the damage zone, it doesn't mean that it's gone from the game. It is one of those interesting things in Vanguard that when a card goes into the damage zone, it is actually still part of play. You have to understand that cards in the damage zone are part of your deck, part of your play. If certain cards go into your damage zone, you will have to adjust your play to it. In the case of Angel Feather, you're going to have to adjust very much because it is almost part of your hand at that point. These plays make it very interesting clan, very dynamic, very hard to predict, and very hard to stop. And it's for that reason that a lot of times it may even be wise to reduce the number of attacks that you deal to your opponent in favor of holding off for a bigger attack the following turn. Bursting down an Angel Feather is far more important and probably far more likely than pushing them slowly over the edge as the game might want. In general though, it is an interesting clan, has a lot of potential, and is not for the faint of heart. I don't think this is beginner friendly by any means. It does involve a lot of technical stuff. Playing only the cards that do power may be fun, but it isn't where the strength of the clan lies. Allowing for the newer cards and being able to switch out cards even during your opponent's turn does mean they get power boosts, maybe like the Pegasus or the newer cards. Just expound on these ideas and make for incredible defensive plays, very difficult to get around. But in general, it's just so important that you slow down your pace. You're not going to win in a rush against an Angel Feather in many cases, and it's important that you time things and understand and watch their damage zone, because that is where they're going to be playing these tricks. The damage zone is an open zone, people. Please look at your damage zone, look at your opponent's damage zone, and take that information as you will. Anyway, this has been Extreme Wirehead. I hope you enjoyed this little talk on Angel Feather and how they are different from the other clans. And I'll see you on the next clan intro. Peace.